Count of three, say, Amanda's pregnant.
Amanda's pregnant.
Yup.
Amanda, are you serious? Are you serious?
And welcome to my brand new series that I am starting. This series is going to be all about my son Alex. I'm going to start it off with how he came to be. If this is your first time watching, I would definitely encourage you to go over to my channel and check out our infertility story, just so you have that as background for why getting pregnant with him in particular was such a big deal, considering our infertility history. So before you watch this video, if you haven't been keeping up with that already, I recommend that you go back and watch that series first and then come and watch this one, because then you'll be going in chronological order and understand a little bit of the background of what I'm talking about as well. Anyway, so let's get started. You're probably wondering, well, they went through IVF and it failed, so what did they do? How did they get pregnant? Because clearly you know that we have a son. So let me tell you the story. So leaving off where we left off at the end of my infertility series. At the end of that series, as you know, we had gone all through the process of IVF, the whole invasive process, and had 2 embryos transferred, and it had failed. In part 4 of that series, you can see the whole spiritual process, emotional process that we went through dealing with that at the time, and how we made peace with it, and just how we, mentally were able to start moving forward from that. Basically, after it failed, we did have this, as I discussed in that vlog, we did have this like spiritual feeling, just this deep feeling that we were going to have a child one day, and we didn't know what that meant. We didn't know if, God was going to provide a child of our own, or if we were going to need to adopt, or after our IVF, we actually had 6 embryos left. And they went into freezer storage. Our kids are in the freezer, honey. They actually are still there now. But that could be a whole discussion for another day. Like, what are we going to do with our 6 embryos? We honestly don't know at this point. That is still up for discussion. There are many options on what to do with them and if we're going to use them or what, but that's a vlog for another day. Anyway, we were thinking at the time, like, well, it failed, maybe we need to just, take an emotional break from all of this for a while, just let it all settle, and then save up a little bit more money, and then go back and transfer another embryo and try again. The beautiful thing about us having 6 left over was that I wouldn't have to go through the entire IVF like egg retrieval process again. So that was really good. And in turn, like cost-wise too, it's, it costs more what an IUI would cost. An IUI is intrauterine insemination. It's like artificial insemination, which is a much less invasive thing. But the cost of just transferring an embryo that you already have is probably about the same as having an IUI done. So it's much more affordable to do that as well. I think that was our plan at the time. So we were just going to take several months off. And we decided that during that time, you know, maybe we'll just take a good like 6 months off. We need an emotional break after going through all of that. Even though we were starting to make spiritual peace with it, we just needed a break. So we decided, well, we kind of felt like God was nudging us to start getting our house ready to sell in this time. We thought, well, okay, maybe this wasn't the time God had for us to have a child yet. Maybe God wanted us to use this time to focus on getting into a new house, like selling our house and getting into a new house. And so that's what we did. We decided we're just going to focus on that for the next 6 months or so and really try and get that done and sell our house and get moved, and then we'll try again. So that's what we started doing. We hired a friend who was a contractor. The house that we were living in was a log house. It was definitely a very unique house. It was definitely Bill's bachelor pad. He bought it as a fixer-upper, well, like, you know, 5 years before I met, maybe 6 years before I met him. Bill is actually 6 years older than me, so you know, he was like, had a jump start on, you know, buying a house, that kind of thing. And he had actually done a lot of work on it already when I met him, which was great. But there was definitely a lot more work to be done on it to get it up to snuff to sell. Definitely had a lot of character, and it was a cool house. It was perfect for the two of us to live there. But it definitely was not a family house, so we were definitely thinking that this is a time we need to move on, get more of a family house because it's so small, and really doesn't have more than one bedroom. There's kind of like an area that we kind of walled off as a separate bedroom that I used as my massage room, since I'm a massage therapist. But it really only had one bedroom, so we really needed to move. But anyway, this house had issues that, you know, the chinking, which is the stuff between the logs, a bunch of that was like falling out, and there was some like electrical and plumbing stuff that needed to be done. You know, you could tell that this house was a really cool house when it was built, but it had kind of been neglected by some previous owners. And it just needed a little TLC to like bring it back to life again, because it really had a lot of potential. It was a cool house. It was a log house in the middle of the woods. It was kind of cool. Anyway, so we hired our friend contractor, and he did a bunch of work for us. And you know, there were even dangerous things, like there was a loft upstairs with no railing. How kid safe is that? I mean, that's not even adult safe. It was not to code. And so anyway, so we had, you know, our contractor like build railings, like do all that kind of thing, replace the chinking, and all sorts of great things like that. And so we got that going. So we're figuring, all right, we're just gonna bite the bullet and get going with the house. So our IVF failed in, I believe it was April of 2012. And this was the end of June, early July. We decided to go on a short little summer vacation down to Oregon. I have some family that lives in Oregon, and there were some sites down there that we wanted to see together. So we made a little road trip out of it. So during this trip, I was fully expecting my period to come. I think I had had one already after my failed IVF, and this would have been the second one after that. So I was fully expecting that to come while we were on vacation. I think it was like due like this second day of our trip or something like that. So we went down, and our first stop was to visit my family down there and see my grandpa, who's in his 90s. He's my last living grandparent, and we definitely try to visit him a couple times a year and, you know, still see him as much as possible. He's an awesome grandpa. I love my grandpa. So we visited him, and my aunt and uncle were there too. I guess I should also mention that my parents weren't there because they had gone on a trip to Scotland. I think I mentioned in my infertility series that we were planning on going to Scotland with them at one point, but we had decided to forego that so that we could use that money to help pay for IVF. So my parents went ahead and went on their trip to Scotland. So we missed that. But we know now why that we weren't meant to go on that trip. Anyway, so they weren't there, but anyway, we were at my grandpa's place, and we were playing the domino game Mexican Train. It's like one of our family favorite games. We always play it when we get together. And I remember we were sitting there playing it, and I was just like so tired. I was thinking, oh, I just didn't get enough sleep last night. I was just like, I'm PMSing, my period's due, I'm really tired. And I remember like between plays, I would like go lie down on the floor, like, 'cause I was so exhausted. I just thought that I just hadn't been sleeping enough. I needed coffee or something. So anyway, the next day we left to go see some of the sites down in the Cascade Mountains, down in like Central Oregon. Just as a little side story, when we were on that drive, we like drove up this little like logging road because it looked like it was going up to a vista that we might be able to see the mountains a little from up there. And we went up there. It was this very strange place. You could tell that there was a forest fire there years before. There were all these like bare trees that had burned previous years. And there was this huge, like, I don't know, gravel pile, sand pile, I'm not sure what it was, but it was covered with like the biggest black tarp we had ever seen in our lives. And it was kind of breezy up there. I know this is a weird side story, but it's fun to tell. Anyway, but there was this breeze and it was making this big black tarp like billow up. We were up there like enjoying the view and everything, and then all of a sudden this one big billow of this black tarp comes up, and this big puff of warm air comes out from under the tarp, and all of a sudden we're completely surrounded by mosquitoes. Ah! And let me tell you that I must have sweet blood because the mosquitoes love me. Wherever I go, the mosquitoes love me. I will get like a zillion bites. And this was no exception. And this puff of warm air brought this like swarm of mosquitoes, and so we were literally running back into the car and getting in the car to escape this swarm of mosquitoes. And we could even see like the mosquitoes like outside the car window like trying to get in, and like a couple had made it in. We were like trying to like smash them and stuff. Oh my god. Anyway, Bill calls that little event infamously the mosquito burp. Like the tarp had a mosquito burp, had a mosquito burp, had a mosquito burp. Anyway, that was a funny little memory that we had from that part of our drive. Anyway, so we continued on, and our ultimate destination that day was to get to this little mountain called Black Butte. If those of you who are from Oregon, you've probably heard of Black Butte. The Cascade Mountains are caused, I mean, you've probably all had science lessons on this and how plate tectonics works, but like the Pacific plate, the western edge of North America, kind of like, here's North America, here's the Pacific plate under the ocean, and it kind of goes under like this, and it causes, when it goes under, it pushes this plate up, and that's what causes the Cascade Mountains, and that's what causes the whole string of volcanoes along the Cascade Mountains. Anyway, Black Butte is just this, it's what they call a cinder cone. It's like a little, almost like a mini volcano, and there's like these strings of cinder cones that are not like the big volcanoes, you know, like Mount Hood, Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, like those are the big volcanoes, but these are just like little ones that are like little vents from that subduction. Anyway, I gotta throw a little science in, you know. So Black Butte is just one of these like perfectly, it's like a perfect cone. You can hike up to the very top of this thing, and it's a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty short hike. I mean, you can definitely do it in like a couple hours. And the views are spectacular because the trail goes all the way around this cinder cone and ends up at the top. So you see views all the way around, all the way to the top. So we were really excited to do this hike. I actually did this hike when I was 3 years old. We had a family reunion in that area. My grandma at the time was 80 years old, and so I was the youngest person, and she was the oldest, one of the oldest people at the family reunion, and she and I and my parents did this hike up Black Butte, and you know, that's like family legend now. Anyway, so I hadn't been there since I was 3 years old, so it was kind of cool to like go back to this place where I had hiked with my grandma. But anyway, I'll put some pictures here of the hike up Black Butte as well, and we were kind of going late in the day. And you know, that late afternoon light was really, really pretty, kind of golden light, and I'm a photographer, and so I was just, you know, I was thrilled to be getting some really awesome photography that time of day. And but during this hike I was continuing to be dead tired, just completely exhausted, and I could not figure out why I was having such a hard time getting up the mountain. Like, oh my gosh. And you know, Bill was going on ahead and I kept saying like, slow down. Like, I just feel like I want to sit down. I'm having a really hard time here. I just continued to chalk it up to, I don't think I've been getting enough sleep. Like maybe I'm coming down with something. I'm not feeling well. But I was like, we've been wanting to come here for a while. I'm going to make the best of it. Mind over body. And I just focused on really getting into enjoying my photography and taking pictures on the way up, and that helped me get into the right frame of mind to get up the mountain. We were getting up there just as the sun was starting to set, and it was gorgeous. It was very romantic because like, since we were there so late in the day, like most of the people had gone down already, so there was just like me and Bill at the top of this mountain. And we were having our little picnic lunch up there watching the sunset, and you could see all around. You could see all of the big volcanoes around us, like, and the surrounding mountains. It was just spectacular. Anyway, so that was an awesome experience. But hiking back down, I was really starting to get suspicious. Here it was by that day, my period was 3 days late. And I was really wondering, why am I feeling so exhausted? Like, I was starting to get a little suspicious, but like honestly, I had like psyched myself up, you know, in the 18 months that we had failed to get pregnant, like so many of those cycles, I had psyched myself up saying, oh, maybe I'm pregnant, you know, and like in my head thinking, oh, maybe this is a pregnancy symptom, maybe that's a pregnancy symptom. And I was just telling myself, I really don't want to like build this up in my head. I have been disappointed so many times before. Like, this is probably nothing. I'm probably just coming down with something. But the fact that I was 3 days late was making me a little bit suspicious because I'm usually very regular. The latest that I have gone in the past, past my period, my normal period date is about 2 days. So I thought, well, it is possible. It has happened in the past. But I was suspicious. You know, for that reason, like we had been disappointed so many times and I had just built things up in my head before that were nothing. Like I didn't tell Bill because I didn't want to make a big deal out of nothing yet again. And so carried on. We went and stayed in a place in Eastern Oregon, or like in Central Oregon that night. And the next day we kind of started our drive back home. It was going to be a long day, we knew it would be, but we stopped at Mount Hood on the way back. So we went to the big old lodge there on Mount Hood, but here it was the next day. I was 4 days late and I was like even more tired than the day before, and so I was really getting suspicious in my head. But I didn't have any pregnancy tests with me. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I didn't tell Bill. I still, you know, after everything we went through, I was like, it couldn't possibly be. Like, maybe something is just off from all of the hormones that I had done from IVF, who knows. But I was still suspicious. I remember when we were there, Bill really wanted to go for a hike, like out on the glacier there. And just like a short little day hike, and I didn't even have it in me to just like go walk around on the glacier, like not even a real hike, just walking around on the glacier. I did not have it in me. I was so exhausted and not feeling very well, and so I said, why don't you go ahead, I'll just stay here and poke around the lodge and take pictures and sit outside a little bit. So he went off, and when he came back, he had a feather. And if you've watched my very first episode of my pregnancy series for baby number 2, check that out and you'll know the significance of that feather. So after he got back from that, we started our drive home, and it was gonna be a long drive. We planned on taking the scenic route. We actually kind of went like up through eastern Washington and like some old highways, like, you know, windy highways, just so we could see some scenic stuff. It was a long drive, but we saw some spectacular sights on the way back. But by the time we got home, it was like 1 in the morning. Here it was the end of the 4th day of being late and still nothing. And I was starting to actually feel pretty convinced, like, maybe I'm pregnant. But I still didn't want to tell Bill until I knew. But here we were stuck, you know, driving in the car, and I'm just thinking the whole time, all I can think about the whole way home is, oh my God, I think I might be pregnant. Like, oh my God, I think I might be pregnant. But I didn't want to say anything. This was all just going on in my head the whole time. And Bill was clueless about what was going on in my head at that time. So anyway, so we get home at 1 in the morning, and I knew that I had some pregnancy tests at home, so I was just like, could not wait to get home and take a pregnancy test. And so I was very sneaky about it. While Bill was unpacking the car from our trip, I snuck upstairs. I said, oh, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. And I did. I went up to our bathroom and I took a pregnancy test. And like, I didn't even want to look at it. Like, I was freaking out. I'm like, this is probably nothing. This is probably just gonna be yet another negative. I've seen so many negative pregnancy tests. But I went back a minute later. I mean, it was just like 1 minute later, I looked back and there was a dark second line. I just about fainted. Seriously, I started getting lightheaded and I was hyperventilating. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, panic. Like, oh my, is this for real? Is this for real? After everything we went through, is this for real? I didn't believe it at first. Because the first test I took was just one of those little cheapy strips, like internet cheapy strips. So I happened to have a digital test as well. So I was like, I'm not sure if I believe this. I need to confirm this with a digital. So I took that and, you know, watched the little timer thing go beep, beep. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it said pregnant. I could not believe my eyes. I seriously could not believe my eyes. I was freaking out, but silently, because Bill still didn't know. And, you know, Bill was busy unpacking and I was upstairs silently freaking out in the bathroom. And then I actually took a third test. I think it was an EPT. It's in the picture. And sure enough, that was a dark positive line as well. I had no words. I just could not believe it. My suspicions were right, and all I could think of was like, how could this have happened? Like, well, we know how it happened, but honestly, after all we went through, how could this have happened? And so what I did was I put these 3 pregnancy tests in a little gift bag. And Bill had finished unpacking. It was, you know, being all sneaky about it, and put these in a gift bag and brought it down. And it was, you know, at this point it was like early July and our anniversary is in August. And so I just made this up and I said, Bill, I have an early anniversary gift for you. And he's like, isn't that a little early? And I said, yeah, I think you're gonna like this one though. So he opens it up and the tests like all fall out. He's like fumbling and like, cause he realizes what they are, and he looks at them and he was in shock. Like he looked at me, he's like, is this for real? I wish I had gotten this on video. Like just him seeing his reaction. I wish now that I had gotten it on video, but I'll just have to do my best to describe it. But just the look on his face, like he was shocked. We were both shocked. He was like, is this for real? I'm like, I would not be kidding you about something like this. Trust me. And we just like sat there together, just like in complete disbelief, complete shock. Like how is this even possible? We were just, oh my God. All we could chalk it up to was that it was a God thing. God had been telling us, you are going to have a child. And we had, you know, we were expecting this to be a long haul, like that we were going to have to go through IVF again, like that we, you know, this might even be, you know, a year down the road. We were not expecting that it was going to happen 2 months later and naturally. Really all we could chalk it up to was a miracle. That's all we could chalk it up to, honestly. So we called the fertility clinic the next day and told them, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. I said, have you guys seen this happen before? And I talked with the nurse and she said, occasionally we do see it happen. Like sometimes all of those hormones in your body just like really primes things up for you. And occasionally we do see this kind of thing happen, but it's not that common. So it really, really was a miracle. This is our miracle baby. I can't even tell you, like, the elation that we felt. It was surreal. I mean, we were on cloud nine. Like, we were so happy, especially after what we had gone through, to finally see a positive pregnancy test and for this to like be real. We were just elated. Of course, we were still a little wary. We knew things could go wrong in the first trimester. But we got pregnant. We went back to the fertility clinic the next day and did the blood test and confirmed it, sure enough. And I think they tested my levels and they were rising just as they should. So it was for real. I was pregnant and it was a miracle. So after this sunk in, we prayed about it and we just asked God, like, we don't know how, but we just thank you for making this possible. And we prayed that this baby would stick and that, would grow to be healthy and strong and make it full term. And yeah, and we just went forward from there. That's basically the story of how we got pregnant with Alex. Yeah, he really, truly is our miracle child. And let me tell you, like, telling our friends and family was something else, like, because they had all known what we were going through. First and foremost, we told our parents. I told you that my parents had taken a trip to Scotland, and I was the one who was scheduled to go pick them up from the airport. So we planned all this because this was like about a week after we found out I was pregnant when they got home. So we had some time to plan out how we were going to announce this to them. So what we did is Bill said that he would take the last half of the day off from work that day. And he picked up a pizza for us to eat for dinner because they'd be getting home around dinner time. And in our family, we take a lot of pictures. We are just like photo people. And so I totally get that from, like, especially my dad. Totally photo people. We like to document everything. I'm a vlogger, obviously. I like to document things. And so our little plan was we were going to sit down for dinner. And I set up my camera on a tripod, which isn't that unusual for us to do. We often take family pictures of ourselves sitting at the dinner table or whatever when we're, having a family gathering. So I said, I just want to take a picture of us all. And they're like, oh, okay. So I get it all set up. And I didn't set it to the photo setting, I set it to the video setting. Little did they know. And I said, count of 3, say, Amanda's pregnant.
Amanda's pregnant.
Yep.
Man, are you serious? Are you serious?
Still on it, you're still getting it. Oh,
Almost 5 weeks.
You got it on your own?
it only takes one.
It only takes one. Oh my God. Well, maybe your system got all fixed up for it.
Maybe?
It's possible.
Oh my God.
Wow.
No, we got that all on video.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, that's like the most epic reaction ever. My mom, oh my gosh. When she is excited about something, we know about it. And especially since they knew what we had gone through, like, they were so excited. And they wanted to be grandparents so bad, I'm actually an only child. And, like, I was their only hope for grandchildren, and they knew that we were going through this, And they were just as elated. They were so excited. I mean, obviously you saw the video there. So then we also told Bill's parents, and like his mom and brother actually didn't get it at first either. Just like when we told our parents, they didn't believe us, they didn't get it. Like they thought it was a joke or something. It was kind of funny because we kind of did the same thing. We're like, we're gonna take a picture. And it was so funny because his mom was like, it's not clicking. And Bill was like, that's right, it's not clicking. They didn't get it. It was really funny. Anyway, so that was great. And then we went and told all of our family and friends, and everybody was so surprised and so amazed and just giving praise to God for this little miracle. So I am going to end this vlog on that happy note. After doing our whole infertility series, it's kind of fun to like move forward into how things were resolved and how there was a happy ending to our story. We thank God every day, even to this day, for our little guy. He is our pride and joy. He's a special, special little guy, and we thank God for him every day. So that is the beginning of how our son Alex came to be. Here on out, what I'm going to do for this series is kind of do like a retrospective kind of thing about his first 1 to 2 years of life. Since I wasn't vlogging at that time, I just wanted to have something special for him as well. So what I'm going to do is do just a short little bit on my pregnancy with him, and I'll do a vlog on my birth story with him, and then just a little bit about his baby years and starting up to where we are with him now. So anyway, stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and if you are interested in seeing more upcoming videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you like this video, click the thumbs up button, and we'll see you next time. Bye!